When it comes to police interrogation, a lot of emphasis is placed onto the interrogators, as their efforts can make or break a case. They are given the task of talking to a suspect, usually prior or directly after an arrest. This is done in order to solidify their statements or, when possible, obtain a confession. But more goes into their job than just talking. Firstly, they have to diffuse the situation somewhat. Most of the suspects they are sitting across from are in the midst of the worst day of their life. They have been apprehended for some crime and are actively dealing with the fact that they will likely be spending some time in prison, or the next few years spending unseemly amounts of money to avoid that fate. They're dealing with such a radical amount of stress that they're on edge, paranoid, and rightfully distrusting of the person they have to talk to. So the interviewer has to get them to forget that fact somewhat. They have to appear understanding, empathetic, and as if whatever happened prior to entering the interview wasn't quite the big deal that the suspect thinks it is. Former FBI Special Agent John Douglas talks about this very thing in the majority of his books, and how during interviews with some of the most heinous criminals, he would force himself to talk crudely about their victim, and feign that he had a similar worldview. That way they were less guarded with him. Though his interviews took place long after these criminals had been put away for their crimes, he found that it was only when the person sitting on the other side of the table felt like they were being understood that they would be completely honest. This is one of the hardest things to do as an interrogator, as it goes against a basic human instinct. As police interrogation videos have been released due to the state's sunshine laws and trial streaming, most people find themselves sickened by the amount of respect that interviewers give to their subjects, to the point where some gifted officers have found themselves receiving threats from the public. However, they likely feel the same way you or I do, as they are closely linked to these investigations. But for the sake of the victims, they have to unselfishly put aside their feelings. After gaining some ground with the subject, the interviewer then must slowly and methodically apply more pressure to them. Not enough so that the suspect clams up and stops talking, but enough that they feel like the interviewer will help them get through. If the interviewer were to apply more pressure before the trust has been established between the two parties, the suspect can immediately shut down or refuse to speak, and worse for the interviewer, ask for legal representation. A capable interviewer needs to be able to thread that needle carefully, to come across as empathetic one moment, then remind the other party of the severity of their crime the next. To be so apprised of the case details that they can call out when they're being lied to, but to have the wherewithal to know when to hold their tongue, and to stare into the eyes of someone who either committed or attempted to commit a heinous crime without showing their contempt. There are countless ways that interviews can go wrong, and when a case is relying on an interrogation for a confession, everything hangs in the balance. Luckily, that wasn't true for the story we're covering today, because this is one of the worst interviews we've ever had to watch. Welcome back to another episode of Dreading, or if this is your first time here, welcome. Today we're going to add another episode to our To Catch a Predator series, where we go over police interviews that took place as part of the popular show of the same name. This is now the 7th video in our series, and one of the more infuriating interviews to watch. We preface this video with a quick introduction about the purpose of a police interview, and how they have to be done carefully, and absolutely none of that was done in this case. Thankfully, as is the case with the majority of these stings, the interview didn't make or break the criminal conviction, but that doesn't stop it from being terrible. This series would not be possible if it were not through the efforts of other YouTube channels, like the Cappening and Joey's TCAP channel, who have posted the raw interrogation footage and allowed us to review it. Those channels and others who share the same style will be linked below, and I highly recommend you send them the same support you've been gracious enough to give us. If you'd like to watch any of our previous videos in this series, a link will be left in the description box down below to our playlist. If there's a story you would like to see covered or a case you want more attention brought to, let us know by leaving a comment down below or emailing us at dreading.official@gmail.com. I also want to quickly say thank you to the recent swell of support, as our channel is at nearly 1 million subscribers. Holy shit! But alas, before we begin the video proper, we unfortunately have to explain how Timothy and other men being caught in these stings is still a crime, as a significant amount of the comments and emails we receive from posting these videos exclaim that technically nothing illegal happened. These people believe that because there was no child literally being exploited, the act of engaging sexually with someone you believe to be a minor, then traveling with the purpose of having sex with said minor isn't a crime. To put it plainly, that argument is stupid, because it supposes that someone taking direct action to sexually abuse a child is not in itself a crime. These people didn't just show up at a sting house by accident. They went there with the express purpose of sexually exploiting a minor, and were only stopped because the minor was not present. If we were to change the scenario to a separate crime, then this may give them a different perspective. Say law enforcement wants to cut down on the drug trade, and they decide that they are going to post online that there is a new drug dealer in the area, operating out of a small home. Multiple people reach out to the fake dealer and say that they're interested in purchasing narcotics from them, and then they travel to the home in order to make the purchase. But once inside, the police arrest those individuals for solicitation to purchase a controlled substance. This type of sting is not unusual for law enforcement, but for some reason, the only time we've seen this kind of backlash is when it involves the online exploitation of children. But with all of that said, let us begin. In 2007, Timothy Kine was a mild-mannered electrician who most people didn't take note of. He was quiet and kept to himself, choosing to interact with the world through his computer rather than in person. Tim frequently posted in chat rooms, and on April 6, 2007, would just so happen to begin private messaging who he believed to be a 13-year-old boy on gay.com. The decoy portrayed the 13-year-old as a boy struggling with his sexual identity, who had no one to talk to. This made them incredibly vulnerable to exploitation, as Tim immediately realized that he could leverage this fact in order to exploit them. In other cases we have covered, when a male predator is trying to exploit who they believe to be a young girl, they tend to focus on the minor's insecurities. They ask them about their family life, trying to suss out if there is discord within their closest relationships, and if their parents are still together. Having two loving parents often makes preying on children harder, though not impossible, especially if they are young teens dealing with the stress of puberty. If they find that the individual has a fraught relationship with their family, or they feel misunderstood, or as if they can't trust their parents, they continue engaging with them, sowing even more discord so the child feels like they can only really trust the predator. They spend a significant amount of time showering their prey with compliments, making them feel special. Because this is likely the first time the minor has ever been complimented in this way, they don't realize that they're being manipulated. They feel cool and adult, which is what most children wanted to some extent. And this feeling is then amplified by the fact that the predator is older than them. They think that the age gap means that they are more adult and better than their peers. If the minor has been bullied previously by kids their age, they will also use this as proof they were being picked on because they were more mature than everyone else. After the minor becomes somewhat reliant on the praise that the predator gives them, the predator will then tell them that it's important that their communication stays private, as it could get them into a lot of trouble. This will terrify the minor, who will then go out of their way to follow the predator's instructions, deleting chat logs and lying about what they're doing online and more. But that is what predators do to young girls who might tell their parents. Those steps aren't necessarily needed with young boys who are already struggling with their sexuality. Because these boys are often dealing with a sense of shame and are fearful about coming out publicly, predators like Timothy don't have to worry about his exploits becoming public. This young boy is already so scared of what others will think of him for being gay that Timothy knows he'd never come forward on his own. Timothy's chat logs with the decoy display this notion perfectly, as within minutes of the fictional 13-year-old saying that he isn't out to his friends and family, Tim turns this conversation sexual. He would go on to chat explicitly with who he believed to be a minor for a week, before ultimately deciding to meet up with him one day after school, at which point he would promptly be arrested and taken into the police station to be interviewed. As is the case with all of these interviews, Timothy would currently be going through the worst-case scenario. He went up to meet and have sex with a minor, was arrested, and his life will never be the same. When we've reviewed these cases in the past, how these predators deal with that knowledge has varied greatly. Jeff Sokol was defiant, trying to argue that he technically did nothing wrong, and that they should have just let him meet the decoy and see if he would actually follow through with him sexually abusing them. Jim Roch was too drunk to understand what was happening, and Lauren Armstrong and John Dupree broke down in tears, realizing that they would likely be going to prison. However, Tim's reaction is quite a bit different.
County Police Department.
Tim, do you know why you're here?
No.
Why did you come to Highland Heights tonight? Can you tell me?
I was going to meet this guy, and just, we were going to watch the movies and stuff.
Yeah.
Tim is doing his best to be nonchalant about what happened, and acts confused as to why he's been brought in. When the female interrogator asks him why he went to the Sting House, he claims that he just went to watch a movie with a guy, but leaves out the fact that that guy was supposed to be a 13-year-old who just got home from school. So he feigns ignorance, which is entirely inappropriate for the circumstance. Let's say what he was saying is true, and he was unfairly arrested and brought into the station after going to meet up with a friend. Most people would not be calm and understanding towards the police in that situation. They'd be livid, demanding to talk to someone to get things sorted out, and threatening a lawsuit because they are being unfairly detained. No one would ever be relaxed in that scenario, especially if they'd been falsely accused of preying upon a minor, but Tim is for some reason.
So, tell me how that
We
evolved.
just met online. I was actually going to be in the area anyways, and,
Okay.
Tim attempts to supplement his leisurely, unaffected demeanor by tying his shoe. It seems as if his subconscious hope is to come off so unperturbed by the situation that he's found himself in that the interviewers decide that there's no way he could have come here to sexually exploit someone. This underreaction is so wild that it has the opposite effect of what Timothy intended. Most people do not take heinous and defamatory statements on the chin the way he is, but he doesn't understand that. Most of the men caught in these stings aren't thinking through their actions in these interviews because they're in such an addled state, so this is how Tim acts while in survival mode.
Who was that person?
John, I can't remember his last name.
I'm sorry?
John, I can't remember his last name.
John? Okay. And was he, how old was he?
I,
Do you know?
18, I think. I really don't know.
18. Okay. How'd you meet him?
Online.
Do you chat online?
Yeah.
Quite frequently? Yeah. Do you know where you met him online?
Gay.com.
And, so he invited you here
Yeah.
today?
The female interrogator purposely affects a softer, more nurturing voice in this interview, as if she is a teacher talking to a child. Her tone is caring, slowly guiding Tim through his statement, getting the basics down without calling out his lies or false testimony. Though she knows that he's lying and actively has the chat logs in her lap, she allows him to say that the decoy was 18. She does this without any direct pushback, or even a sign of irritation. Allowing someone to lie to your face without reacting negatively is an extremely hard thing to do. Even if you hold your tongue, usually your facial expression or reaction would give your true feelings away, but she's mindful not to do that.
I have some chat logs where you all talked back and forth, and I think that person told you they were 13 in the chat log.
I wouldn't meet somebody 13 years old.
No?
Mm-mm.
So
that's too, that's too young.
The following is the chat log, as made public by Perverted Justice. Tim, hi. Like the pic, cute guy. You busy. Decoy. Yo, no sorry, sup. 13M Cincy area, you. Tim. That's cool. I'm in Dayton area. I'm 35. Age difference okay. Despite Tim's stark denial that he would ever talk to someone as young as the decoy, he didn't seem to have any issue when the conversation began. In fact, he asked the minor in the situation if he was okay with the age difference, as if the burden of responsibility should be placed on the minor in that situation. But moving on.
Yeah. Well, what were you going to do?
Just,
once
I
you
brought
got
some
here?
movies, and that was about it, really.
Yeah, what kind of movies?
Just some, like, army flicks, and,
Yeah. And how old are you?
I'm 42.
42.
Again, it should be noted that even though Tim has lied multiple times to the officer, she continues to keep her tone calm and nurturing. She doesn't push back against his obvious falsehoods, because she doesn't need to at this moment. They have all the evidence that they need, and her goal in this instance is to make him comfortable enough to be honest with them.
Now, where do you live?
Indianapolis.
Indianapolis.
Mhm.
So you came from Indianapolis
Right. Well, I was
here?
going to go see my parents, so I just live in Dayton.
Your parents live in
Right.
Dayton. Where do they
Right.
live in Dayton?
Off of Mad River Road,
Mad River
Mhm.
Road?
like by the Dayton Mall area.
Uh-huh. And do you chat from home or do you chat from somewhere else?
Home.
From home? Do you have a computer?
Mm-hmm.
What kind of computer do you have?
Just a lap or a desktop.
PC?
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a webcam?
No.
So you don't use that
No.
to chat?
No.
Okay. You want to tell me a little bit about how you chatted with, was it John, you said?
Yeah. Nothing. We just met, and it just went from there.
Okay. Did you have something in common?
Just seemed like a nice guy,
One of the key takeaways from these interviews is how minimally the predators care about the minors they were planning on sexually exploiting. Despite spending multiple days talking for hours, they don't retain any information about the child that they have groomed. The chat logs we have covered are sometimes filled with the decoy talking about life, school, their struggles fitting in, a hard home life, and turmoil, details that the predator would use to groom who they hoped would be their victim. Yet, when they're confronted, they cannot recall any information about what drew them to the child in the first place, because their likes, interests, and personality were all secondary to them. What actually attracted them was the fact that they were minors. Despite these predators stating that they wanted to be in a relationship, that they liked and sometimes loved them, they viewed the fictional minors as things to be discarded after they had sex. Again, even though there wasn't an actual child on the other side of the screen in this case, imagine if there were. What would have happened if Timothy came to the home and the 13-year-old boy were there? How would that boy who trusted him and confided in him have felt when he realized that the 42-year-old he'd been talking to just saw him as a sexual conquest? What would that have done to his self-worth? But ultimately, that doesn't matter to people like Timothy. The male investigator is about to ask some questions, and pay attention to his tone, as it's markedly different to the one that has been used throughout the first minutes of the interview.
What are some of the things you guys talked about?
All kinds of different things, really.
Tell me about that.
I mean, God, we just talked, about watching TV, what kind of stuff, sports and stuff like that, and, that's pretty much about it.
Did you guys
And
talk
go
about
from there.
anything else besides watching
No.
TV or anything like that?
I mean, not really. Not that I can recall.
So you can actively see the difference between the interviewer who is attempting to get information and possibly a confession out of a subject, and someone who doesn't feel like that is necessary. Both the male and female interviewer have the chat logs. They know what was said and know that they have enough evidence to charge Mr. Kine. But talking to him will help them gain insight as to how internet predators operate and potentially lead to a harsher conviction. As previously stated, these stings occurred in 2007, and people didn't fully understand how predators utilized the internet at the time. Talking to Timothy has value, but the male interrogator either doesn't realize that or simply doesn't care. His tone is notably more irritated and harsh than his counterpart, and he doesn't attempt to hide his contempt at all. On a human level, his reaction does make sense, but he is actively not doing his job when he reacts this way.
What about John's family or anything like that? Did you discuss?
No. I think he said that he lived with his parents and his mom was going to be away, and said come over. I said, well, I'd like to meet you.
So how did you find the location?
He gave me an address.
Gave you an address, and then did you do a map, or did you know how to
MapQuest.
get
No,
here
I didn't
already?
know.
MapQuest,
Right.
pretty handy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you chat online quite often?
Off and on, what's
Yeah.
often.
Do you tend to talk to a lot of people?
Not really. I mean, if I find somebody interesting, I'll talk to them, and
Tim claims that he doesn't talk to a lot of people, and only spends time talking to those he finds interesting. This is in spite of the fact that he couldn't name a single thing about the fictional minor he was chatting with seconds earlier. This kind of contradiction is something we often see in police interviews. Jeff Sokol, in particular, repeated that he never talked to young girls, and only talked to the decoy because she was so special. However, when asked what made her special, he had nothing to say. These two things cannot be true at the same time, and even if they could name something, that doesn't make preying upon a minor okay.
What kind of things do you chat about?
just whatever, really,
No, I really don't.
I mean, I don't know, just talk and go from there.
Why do you use the chat? Is it a chat room that you go to?
Yeah, I guess so.
To meet people?
Yeah.
I'm not a chatter, so I don't really understand it. Can you help me understand why you use that medium?
Just to meet people, I mean, really.
Okay. Is there a particular type of person you're looking for?
Not really. Just not really,
Mm-hmm. Okay. I've read a little bit of the chat that you had, and there were some underlying issues of maybe homosexuality. And was that maybe the reason for your contact with John?
Could be, but if he was, if he's,
And
if, you
don't
know, the
take
age,
my...
if that's what you said, that's, that would never happen.
When the female interrogator brings up homosexuality, and if the chat was sexual in nature, Tim begins to rub his head. This is likely a self-soothing stress response, because she is beginning to lightly apply pressure. She is asking the same exact thing that the male interrogator had moments before, but because she isn't verbally jabbing at him, there's more weight behind her words.
Because I think if I remember right, God, when I met him, I can't remember the name. The name on it, because it said like a date 74 or something like that.
Okay. So he was homosexual? Is that...
I don't know.
You don't know. How did it...
I don't, unless you meet somebody, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't, do any of that. I'd like to meet somebody and go from there.
Mm-hmm. So, but you were interested in him because he was a boy or a man?
Personality and so forth.
Personality.
Friends.
Okay.
Is it Tim?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
fine.
I had a little chance to read the chats too. Okay. And, I think looking at the chats, I think there was something a little more was going to happen up here. Okay. And, we've looked at it, we've read them. Okay. There's a difference between someone who comes up here and, may hit, I'm not saying a mistake or anything. And there's a difference between somebody who actually goes out and looks for kids. Okay. You don't take me as a guy right now. For right now, you don't take me as a guy that goes out 6 little kids.
No.
Okay. You're not
Not
that
at
guy.
all.
You're
No.
not that guy.
No.
But I
No.
think what happened is you met, what's his name again? I'm sorry. Online.
You said it earlier.
The guy
John?
you met, is it John?
I don't know who it is now. I don't know anything
Okay.
anymore.
The male interrogator has changed his tactics somewhat, but is still not doing a great job. There is the obvious fact that he has forgotten the name of the decoy, and actively asks the name to Tim. Though unintentional, this comes across as if he isn't as knowledgeable about what happened, and his entire statement is a facade. But he is also actively accusing Tim, less than 10 minutes in, of pursuing this minor. He tries to frame it as not being as bad, but neither interviewer has gained enough ground with Tim to apply this sort of pressure this early on, especially not him. But let's continue on.
Well, the guy you were chatting online with gave you the address up here in Highlands. Okay. I think you guys both were thinking about something a little bit more. Okay. Would that be the truth?
Until I don't know. Talking to somebody online and meeting somebody is, it's totally different things. I'm always looking for friends.
If we can come out and talk about the truth here, okay? Because you came up here, the way you were talking, I think there was a little bit more. I can understand that, other than, if I give this to somebody else, I can just easily hand this to them and say, okay, this guy was out to find a 13-year-old or 14-year-old, whatever. They're going to think a lot worse. But if we talk about what happened here, just the 3 of us, maybe we can figure this out, and maybe there's something a little different, and maybe you're not that guy that's out there looking for little kids or that.
I'm not looking for.
And you're not,
kids.
and you're.
No.
The male interviewer is trying to portray himself as being more understanding than the others, who will eventually look at the case, as if he can help Tim and provide him with a bit of leniency that he will otherwise not get. But this statement is entirely unearned. Timothy has no reason to trust either of the interviewers at this point. It's like if a stranger was to tackle you, accuse you of a crime, then tell you to trust them directly after. It just doesn't work. So let's see what happens.
But you were looking for a little bit more when you came up here.
I don't know until you meet somebody. I don't know.
So your intentions were to come here
And my intentions were to come here and get to know somebody and see how it goes. But if
Would
13 years old, is that what you're saying?
13,
You know,
14, would that
would not have interested me at all.
would that have been a possibility
No,
if you felt a connection?
no. Not at 13 years old. I could have sworn the guy said he was 18 years old. And he was still in school.
In college?
I don't know. We didn't even get that. I didn't think he asked.
Mm-hmm.
Or I asked.
I think everybody was being upfront. Okay. You know, we don't pick and choose sometimes. Okay. And I understand that, you know, sometimes emotions weigh more than over other things, age, other things. Okay. And you came up here, and I'm thinking, probably we're gonna want a little bit more. Possibly something sexual. Okay. All right. Am I on the right track?
You know, no. I mean, I'm not looking, if that's what you're saying, that I came up here looking for sex from a kid.
Well, you're looking to be with somebody,
Yeah,
have a good time.
To meet somebody, have a good time, and have a good time as sex-wise, or have a good time, you know, I mean, meet somebody and have a good time. Talk to them, get to know somebody.
So it was a
You know,
possibility.
not at that age, no. I don't even think I would not even, you know, think about that.
Mm-hmm.
To have
It's-
sex with a 13-year-old, no.
Yeah, I can't.
I mean, but, you know, looking at some of your chats here, I mean, you know, I'm not saying you're gonna do some major violent things, but it sounds like you want to be a little intimate. You know what I mean by intimate? Close. Would that be a characterization?
I don't, you know.
Say throw out the sexual part. Just be intimate.
What's intimate? You know,
Being close.
Being close,
Hugging.
sharing space.
Yeah, I mean, it
Sharing
depends, you know,
personal
on the
space.
person, though. It depends on the person.
Were you hoping for something like that up here?
You know, if I meet the right guy, maybe so. But,
You know,
I mean, until you actually meet somebody and go, you know, and get to know them,
You really strike me as a very caring person. I can't imagine that you would violate someone
No.
in any way. I mean,
you know, I mean, that's what,
you want to meet somebody and spend some time and get to know each other, and possibly if it leads to something more, then
Yeah,
it would
I
be
mean,
a true
that's what you're saying
relationship
is-
is what I'm hearing.
yeah.
And what I
exactly.
see
But
in you.
you know, what you guys are trying to say, you know, I didn't know somebody was 13 years old.
Hmm. So they didn't tell you when they chatted with
you
you
know,
that they were 13?
Yeah, I thought he said it was 18, though. I remember he saying he was in school, and he went to school.
Hmm.
Yeah, I just don't recall.
Yeah.
Timothy continues to deny that he was aware of the age of the decoy, that this was all a misunderstanding, and if he had known the age, he would have immediately left. Because of that, the interrogators will go back and attempt to reestablish some trust by asking questions that they should have covered earlier, but happened to skip over.
13, no.
Okay.
I mean, I would have found out he was 13. I would have shit.
Yeah. So you said you chatted with him from home.
Yeah.
Is that Indianapolis?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Because I noticed that you told him you were in Dayton.
I was actually going to Dayton.
Okay. So,
I mean, I
You
go to Dayton
travel
like
back
every
and
weekend.
forth?
Yeah.
okay. What do you do?
I'm actually in between jobs, so
Yeah.
electrician,
Oh, okay. Houses or
commercial buildings.
commercial buildings? Okay. So you're in between jobs. And,
Yep.
just your parents live in Dayton,
Right.
so you travel there. Do you stay with them?
Sometimes.
Yeah. Do you have any kids?
No.
Okay. So anybody lives with you?
No.
Significant other?
I have a nephew that stays with me every now and then, but
Okay. How often would you say he visits?
maybe you know, it's hard to say. You know, sometimes he'll stay for a week, a month, 2 days, you know.
Yeah. Okay, so does he work?
No, he's in between jobs too, actually.
What's he do?
He's a landscaper, you know, just whatever.
In your chat, there were discussions about relationships with other people. I understood that you had a boyfriend who left and went to Florida.
Mm-hmm.
Is that true? So you've had some ups and downs
Sure.
in as far as relationships are concerned, and how they've worked out for you. So you turn to the chat rooms to discuss those
Just
things?
meet people,
and,
yeah, to talk, yeah,
yeah,
sure,
pass the time.
yeah.
Lonely and need somebody to talk
Just,
to and
you
maybe
know.
meet and do something.
Well, you know,
Yeah, I'm sure, not that I know personally, but I'm sure that it would be hard. The way society is today with homosexual tendencies, for that to be accepted very easily. So it'd be hard for you to find a whole lot of people to openly display your affection with and not offend other people. So I can see where you would go to a chat room to express yourself and find out who you are as well as who other people are. Do you think John was having those issues?
I don't know, you know.
Did you
I
connect
don't,
with
you
him
know, I
in
never
that
met
manner?
I never met a guy, so I don't know how somebody actually is until you meet somebody.
Yeah, but on your chat, I mean, you obviously came here because you felt some connection. I mean, I don't see you being the
Sure.
kind of person that would just,
You know, yeah, or I wouldn't.
you know, run
Yeah.
off and
No.
go to somebody's house without having some feeling about whether you're even going to be able to talk to them.
Mm-hmm.
Is that true, or am I way off base?
No, I guess that's true, but I mean, the age thing is what you guys are, you know,
Tim, you're getting caught up with the age thing. I'm not.
Yeah, we're just trying to understand.
You're getting caught up with the age. Now, if you want to get caught up with the age, that's fine. But throwing out the age thing, you come up here to have some fun, to be with somebody. You brought them some Army flicks. You brought them some just to have a good time, right?
yeah, I mean, to have a, you know,
You
to
have a
get to
good
know,
time.
yeah, right.
And to get to know somebody.
Yes.
Okay. And a lot of times, when you chat and you talk about certain things, you both have things you have in common. Okay. It sounds like he's a little lonely. You're a little lonely. Both meeting online, right? Both a little lonely. Okay. You know, it's normal. I mean, those are normal feelings. If it wasn't, you know, you'd be cold-hearted or whatever. But you came up here looking for something. Okay. And when you came up here, I'm not saying this was going to be some type of crazy wild night. I'm not saying that. Okay. You're getting caught up in that too. But what I'm saying is.
That's what it seemed like you were
Well,
insinuating.
well,
that,
I'm
you
not.
know,
I'm
I mean,
not. Tim, I'm not trying to insinuate anything. Okay. But I know certain things. Things that, you come up here to have a good time. Meet somebody you thought was a nice person. Okay. And you came up here to sit and watch the movies. And if things happened, they happened. That's all it was going to be. Not this wild, crazy.
Pausing for just a moment, but I don't know what is being said here, as the audio cuts out at a very inopportune moment. Before it cuts out, the female interrogator is slowly getting Tim to open up about the fact that he felt some kind of connection with the decoy, how he traveled all the way to the Sting house to potentially establish some kind of inappropriate connection with said decoy, all the while tactfully avoiding the age issue. By purposely leaving out the age from her questions and her statements, she is trying to portray that Timothy and the minor were on equal footing. that this is almost like a first date, and that they had more in common. Tim agrees, then repeats that he wouldn't have done anything if he knew the age of the person he was trying to visit. While that might seem like an outright denial, it's not. She gained ground with him, got him to admit to seeking a romantic connection, and if they continue to walk down this path, she could eventually ask him to explain some of the chat logs where the boy's age and living situation is actually discussed, which would discredit his denial. But instead, the male interviewer chimes in and says that Tim is getting caught up in the age thing, which is true but not helpful. I'm going to fast forward to when the audio comes back in.
You know, depending on how things went, have some time watching a movie, share some popcorn.
That's how you get to know somebody. You know,
Yeah,
I mean, that's
you spend time.
yeah.
Tim, you got feelings.
That's right.
You're just like
Yeah.
anybody else. Her, me, you. We all have feelings, and you know, you know.
There's nothing wrong with expressing those feelings and being honest with yourself, as well as everybody else in the room too.
Sure.
You know, so we're here. We want to hear what was going on. You know, what you intended to see happen once you got here.
I didn't
You know, were
intend
you
to
going
see
to go to
anything
the
happen,
bowling alley
you know?
and go bowling? Were you going to go
Maybe,
out to
you
the
know,
movie
Sure,
theater?
maybe.
Yeah, and I mean, that's what we're here
You know,
for.
that's you know, I mean, that's how you get to know somebody. You know, spend time. You know, sure.
Yeah. So, how did you feel about John when you were?
I don't know until until you actually meet somebody. You know what I mean? I mean, you don't know how somebody is talking on a computer.
Well, it was obviously enough to get you to come
Sure.
here.
There was
Tell
a-
me about that. Tell me about that connection that you felt.
Well, I don't. You know, sure, but anybody lies. Everybody lies.
Oh, online.
Well, I guess you know. Evidently, something happened.
Yeah. So, what do you think he lied about?
Well, I don't know. I never met anybody. I know I walked into a room and I was on the ground.
Tim is now stating that he was lied to by the decoy, even though within the first 10 messages, their ages had already been talked about, and was brought up multiple times in their discussions. Because there hasn't been any consistent tone throughout this interview, with the male interrogator going a bit too hard, then the female interrogator trying to re-establish a connection, they haven't countered this statement at all. So Tim continues to think it's a compelling argument. They could have easily gone over the first portion of the chat logs, shown him where the decoy said he was 13, or at the very least, said that they know that's not true because of what they read. They could easily point that out without starting a confrontation and keeping their tones cool and level. But because they'd been trying to regain ground since the first few minutes, they haven't been able to counter this claim. Police interviews are a tightrope, and while they haven't fallen off at this point, they are actively losing balance.
So
You know, I mean, if I, you know, I mean, meeting somebody, if I like them, you know, that's fine. But
you just said you had enough connection online.
sure.
So, hey,
to
let
come-
me
yeah,
go check
come
it
down
out.
here.
And
Yeah.
that's what all you do. You're just going to check it out and see if there could be more.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's normal. I can see people, if you see something and it piques your interest, and you're going to want to check it out. And I can understand that. And while you're there, if you didn't like him, you left, right? If you got there and you didn't like him.
That's what would have happened.
Yeah,
you
if
know, I
you
mean,
didn't like him, but if you did like him, maybe, hey, you got to talk a little bit and everything. It could have led to more, a good friendship, and would that be the truth?
yeah, I guess. You know, it could be. You know, but
And if anything else progressed, that could have blossomed. Tim, we're just, like I said, we're just trying to figure out everything. Okay, I don't want people to look at you as Tim the other way, because I don't think you want to be looked at as that way.
No, not at all, and that's not.
And that's what you're not about. You're a hardworking guy. You're an electrician, right? Are you like a journeyman or
Yeah.
what? You're a journeyman.
Mhm.
Okay. My dad's an electrician too. Okay. I grew up around the trade. Right. You work hard. That's a hard job. That's why I don't do it. Okay.
It's a real hard job.
It's a real hard job. My dad's got bad knees. I understand. You know, it broke my dad down. Okay. You know, and you work hard. You're going through a lot of transition right now. Did you get laid off? Or did
Fired.
Okay. What'd you?
And then I went for another company and they couldn't pay me. The payroll checks bounced and shit like that. So
Which happens.
it's time to go.
Yeah. Happens all the time. Getting laid off. They have too many people to let you go. That happens. Tim, I can understand coming up here. You got a lot on your mind. You're in transition. Was there a possibility you might have to move back in with your parents?
No, I was thinking about moving back to the area, but you know,
You got a lot on
I
your
can
mind.
move anywhere. You know, but
So a combination of you got all this on your mind. You're lonely. Alright. You're just needing more. Which is normal. And don't feel that it's not normal, because it is normal. You know? I can see these things. You know, but you just need, you know, I know you were lonely, you came up here, you wanted to find somebody new. And
I always look for friends.
yeah.
You know, that's, you know, it's a great thing.
No, friends are wonderful.
Yeah, you know,
Everybody needs friends.
sure.
So, you know, once you got up here, okay, and let's just totally be honest with you, because I want to be honest with you if you want to be honest with me, okay?
I've been honest with you.
and
I don't know what you.
And trust me, Tim, I
Yeah.
will walk you through whatever we need to talk about. If you need help or something is there, I will walk you through it. I promise you, I will walk you through it. We can walk this together, or you can walk it alone.
So you've probably realized that this conversation is going in circles, and that is because they still have not explained to Tim that his statement about not knowing the age isn't true. It'd be fairly easy for them to pull up the chat logs, show him where the age was talked about within the first few messages, and then show when he actively acknowledged that the decoy said he was 13, and read out where he said, and I quote, "I don't care about age, it's the guy I am interested in," end quote. By showing that he acknowledged the age at multiple points in the interaction, that would hurt his credibility, which would increase his stress, and it would actually progress the interrogation, because he would then have to pivot to a new reason as to why what he did was okay in his eyes. But neither of them have done that. Instead, they continue to agree that Tim was lonely, he wanted to meet someone online, and he would have been interested in meeting someone romantically and so on. But none of that needs to be reestablished, because he's agreed to it 5 times now. The only point of contention is whether he knew the age or not, but the interviewers refuse to address that point.
You want to walk with me, Tim?
I don't know what you want from me. I'm
I just
answering
wanna-
all of your questions. You're asking me to, you know. I don't know what you
I'm
want.
just trying to. You came up here for a reason.
I gave you the reason.
Okay. I just want to make sure we're 100% honest with each other. Because I think you're getting, you know, about the issue of, you know, whether there's going to be some wild, crazy weekend or something like that. I don't want you to get that out of your mind. But I think when you come up here, you were going to watch movies. It was probably going to turn romantic. And that was what was going to happen. And then you could leave.
I can't
the week,
tell you. You can.
The weekend was going to be over, and then you go home. And you might have found a new friend out of it.
You know, maybe. I don't know. You can speculate. You know what I mean?
But everybody has.
Don't know.
But everybody has an idea of what they want to do. Everybody has an idea of what they want to do. Everybody envisions, regardless if they get to do it or not. Everybody envisions. You know what I mean by envision, correct?
I guess I can kind of. I don't. You know.
You know, everybody has thoughts of.
Or you play it out in your mind.
Yeah.
What may happen, what could happen.
What are you asking from me?
What do you think? What were you hoping for to happen?
Like I said, I was going to meet the guy, go from there. If we liked each other, that's fine, but
Would it have went farther?
I don't know. I don't know. If you like a person, okay.
And if you like him, you would go farther.
If I liked him, I might go farther. But there's a whole lot of factors in this though too. If it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If it's a kid, a child, no.
I'm not talking about the kid,
You know,
child.
but-
I'm talking about the person.
If I can meet somebody, then great.
The issue is that they are talking about if it's a kid or a child, because that's what the crime is. That is the fundamental issue. And until they show Tim that they know he knew the age of the decoy, this conversation will continue to go in circles, but neither of them have done so yet, and it's frankly ridiculous that it's taken so long. The first confrontation of this interview happened much too soon, but the fact that Tim has almost received no pushback at this point is laughable.
And I think you found that when you wanted to come up. I think you were hoping for that.
Sure.
Okay.
I'm looking for friends, sure. I would always look for friends.
Ken, I'm just step out just for a brief moment.
Okay.
I don't know.
I'll be right.
It's all right.
The male interviewer decides to leave the room, and the female interviewer is about to take over. When he leaves, he tells her he'll be right back, and she says it's all right, essentially telling him he isn't necessary to the interview, which is true. His input hasn't been helpful in this, and she would likely be able to work better without his input. So let's see what she does.
I get the feeling that you think that we're trying to mess with you. That's not the case at all. We're here to find out what this situation was so that we can explain it. And without your help.
That's the situation. That's
You
the
understand
situation.
me though?
Sure,
I need your
understand you.
help
I understand you 100%.
so that I can explain it
Right.
to everybody else
I
on your behalf.
understand you.
So I need you to come clean with me
And
tell me what this was all about.
That is exactly what it was about. If I meet somebody, fine. If it goes farther, that's cool. But, I'm not looking for, I'm looking for friends.
Yeah.
Maybe a relationship.
Yeah.
So that's all we have of the female interviewer at this moment. There is a cut in the footage, and suddenly the male interrogator is back, and that is so great.
And when you came up here today, that's what you had on your mind. That's what's going to be.
Well, no.
That, Tim.
That's not what I had on my mind. When I came up here, I planned on meeting somebody, getting to know somebody.
Tim,
Not,
you had an idea what you want to do with it.
sure, watch the movies.
Watch your movies and be...
Maybe go to the bowling alley.
More than... Tim, you want one moment you're telling me, it doesn't matter. Now it does matter. Tim, I can see it. I'm willing to work with you, okay?
What do you mean you're willing to work with me?
I'm willing to work with you to help you not be there.
I'm not there. I'm not.
But
what you're telling me is not matching what I see here.
Earlier on in the interrogation, Tim was attempting to come across as cool and aloof. He'd been interested in trying to engage sexually with a minor, but he thought that if he was blasé about it, the police would think that they'd made a big mistake and let him go. He was open to their questions and willing to talk to them because he believed it would help him in the long run. His body language conveyed that fact easily, but now look at him. His arms are crossed in front of his chest like a child who is defiant. He is leaning back as far from the interviewers as possible and has his legs kicked out in front of him to push himself further away. He is now openly hostile towards the interviewers, but mostly towards the male interviewer in particular. The main issue is that he's been allowed to use the same denial throughout this interview with minimal pushback. Because they haven't made him acknowledge that he knew the age of the decoy, he's repeated the lie so much that he now feels comfortable in it. In his mind, if they had a way to counter his statement, they would have used it already. And since they haven't, he continues to double and triple down.
If I go out and I look at somebody,
What, that I'm looking for a boyfriend? That I'm looking to meet somebody? I'm meeting for friends? You
You're
know, a
looking to have
relationship?
sex.
you're looking to have a good time.
If I like the person,
And that's what was going to happen
you
when I came up
know,
here.
I don't know. You don't know. I don't know until
You
I meet
already
the guy.
liked him.
You're not going to.
How
Did
do
you
you know?
not already like him?
Sure. I
Did
did, but the picture that was painted, I don't know. You know, I really don't know. You don't know until you meet somebody.
You're telling me he seems like an awesome guy. You know, you're telling me, I hope you sleep good.
Sure.
You know,
What's wrong with that?
that means there was something more.
Well, yeah, I mean, we talked for days.
And you talk for days and you built a connection and you come up here to be with him. He was going to be
I did not. No.
He was going to be by
I did not.
himself.
I swear.
And you
I did
guys
not.
could be alone. And you could exchange all those things that you talked about. You guys were going to be alone together. Nobody to bother you.
Can I please use the bathroom? I'm going to pee my pants.
I can do a break real quick.
Okay.
Do you have something?
I mean, it's up to you. However you want to do.
You still have that folder? That's the folder I had. Yeah. Okay. Let me
Okay,
take a break real quick.
she's gonna step off for a
Type
minute.
pen.
She's gonna come back in, okay? And we'll see what we can do about a bathroom for you, okay?
You're asking me to say stuff that's not true.
Tim, I'm not trying to make you say something that's not true. I don't want you to tell
I
me
came
something.
up here to meet somebody, and hopefully
It went
friends,
and
hopefully
more.
find a boyfriend,
and more.
and if it went farther,
And you
cool.
won't.
But
I
not,
think you wanted
not with
more.
a child. Not with a child. No.
Tim,
If I would have met the guy, and if I would have known that,
Tim,
I made a
Tim,
mistake.
age is not a. You're the kind.
Age is a difference when it
No.
goes that young.
No,
Yes.
Tim.
I'm sorry.
It's not about the age. It's about the person.
This is a fundamentally stupid thing to say. It's just so stupid that it makes me mad. But I'm going to keep talking like this because it's on theme. This is all about the age. The reason it's about the age is because a child's and teenager's mind is fundamentally different from an adult's. That's why children are not allowed to be their own legal guardians, because they cannot conceptualize certain things, especially about their own well-being. Moreover, the statements that he read out from the chat logs are not the ones that would showcase that Tim knew the decoy's age. The chat logs are linked below. They talked about his age multiple times, with the decoy even saying that if they were to date, it would look like they were Anna Nicole Smith and her late husband, who had a massive age gap. There are better ways to counter Tim here, but they refuse to do it effectively, and it's caused this entire interview to become a shit show, and it's about to get worse. A lot worse. And I bet you're wondering, hey, how could it possibly get any worse? Well, buckle up, because I'm about to show you.
Well,
It's about the person.
not when you're.
And you can
not
be
when you're
13 and be mature.
12, 10,
You can be mature in 13.
5. You know.
I'm not talking about a 4-year-old.
Well, even
I'm not-
13 is still
you know-
a child.
As we stated earlier, one of the best tactics to use in an interrogation is to try and find some common ground with the perpetrator and try to ease their fear of judgment by saying that it's understandable that Tim was talking to a 13-year-old because he was lonely and the decoy seemed mature. The interviewer is trying to get Tim to see him as a friend who won't judge him unfairly. But it's too late in the interview for that to work, especially after the multiple failed confrontations that have already occurred. Instead, Tim reacts like the majority of people would if they heard someone say the same thing. He is the perpetrator in this case. He was caught objectively trying to meet up with a minor, but when someone else tries to validate what he did as being okay, he rebuffs them. That's how poorly this interview was going.
But it didn't. When you felt it, he had enough, what you felt, connection. You guys had enough together in that short amount of period, and you guys wanted to explore that. There's nothing.
If I would have went there and this kid would have been 13 years old, nothing would have happened anyways.
I think it would have.
No, it wouldn't have.
Tim,
Maybe we would have became friends, but that's
Tim.
probably as far as it would have went.
Tim. age doesn't matter to you.
Age matters when it's like that.
Well,
Come on
I'm not
now.
talking a 4-year-old. I'm talking
Come
Tim.
on now.
Tim, I'm talking about.
Even 13, 14, 15, 16,
So you
17.
you can show some experience, something you can be with him,
Not
show him some things.
A child, though.
It would be more impactful if the interviewer was reading from the chat log, showing him where he said that, but he doesn't. He repeats that the age doesn't matter in this case, and that he believes that Tim would have sex with a 13-year-old if it had not been a sting, but he shows no evidence of that. He frames it as simply being his belief, and that's why this line of questioning is ineffective. Again, they have enough evidence against him to make a case, but they haven't said as much to him. They still haven't gone over the chat logs, pressed him about his story, or shown him the proof, which makes no sense. They're doing an impossibly bad job here.
You said it in those things.
Well, then I made a mistake.
You know?
I mean, I would have never had, that with him.
You know?
Tim, we got some problems here. Whenever you talk to John, you told him straight up that you knew he was 13. I can't tell you how many times in this chat log that you tell him that you know he's 13. You talk about spring break. You ask him when his mom's leaving. You planned on coming to stay. Hold on, I've listened to you, okay? I'm going to lay it out for you because here it is.
We are 30 minutes into this interview, not including the weird cut in the footage or the part we had to fast forward through, and they are just now getting to the direct evidence that he knew the age. The first half of this interview has gone so incredibly poorly, so let's see if they can save it in the last half.
You were coming to stay all weekend, not just a day. You told him you were coming all weekend. You were going to have oral sex. You were going to give him oral sex. You asked him the first time that he jacked off if he had been caught by his mother. And whenever he asked you how old you were when you started, you said 13 or 14, and he said I was the same age, and you said that you understood. So don't tell me that you don't know that he was 13, and that wasn't your intention to come here and have sex with a 13-year-old.
No, that was not my intention.
It was absolutely your
intentions were
intention,
to meet
Tim.
somebody and
Don't
have a
fill me
friend.
full of crap. I'm done with that game. That game is over. Now, do we want to talk about what your intentions were here? Because I'm beginning to think you're a pedophile.
I'm not a pedophile. What do you want to know from me? What do you
I want to know about the chats.
I have told you. I've told you if I was coming here to meet him.
And
okay?
do what?
Friends.
Be
Maybe a
honest with
boyfriend.
yourself. You wanted to have sex with him. He was 13 years old. You wanted to help him explore.
I'm sorry. No. No. It
You
would not
can
have
sit
happened.
there
It would not
and
have happened.
honestly be
It would not
true
have
to
happened.
yourself and say no.
Yes.
You're a liar.
It would not have happened.
You are a liar.
The female interviewer comes out of the gate swinging, talking about the evidence and stating directly that he is a liar because they have read the chat logs. Any previous guise of understanding or care is gone because it would no longer make sense in the interview based on what has already occurred. It seems that she is trying to create a good cop, bad cop scenario where she will pin Timothy down with what he said and allow Tim to seek solace and comfort in the male officer. After all, he has spent the last 10 minutes saying that it doesn't matter that he was coming to meet a child.
I'm sorry.
An absolute liar.
I would not have had sex with a 13-year-old.
You would have and you will if you got the chance.
No.
Yeah,
Sorry.
that's why you were coming here.
No. I came here to try to meet a friend.
And do what?
Maybe a boyfriend. A relationship.
Give him a blowjob. Cuddle with him. Lay with him in bed all weekend long.
No. I do not have any clothes with
You're
me to stay all
unemployed.
weekend.
Just bouncing around. Why not? Mom's gone. Go stay with the 13-year-old. It's like he's not going to kick you to the curb like your boyfriend did for another woman. Is he?
So that was a piece of information that Tim had given the decoy in their conversations, and she plays that card beautifully here and tells Tim that she is apprised of the chat logs, so much so that she can pull out any embarrassing thing he said and use it against him at the drop of a hat. All the control he felt like he had earlier when they allowed him to repeat that he didn't know the decoy's age would be dropping fast.
I don't know what you want me to say, but that's not what you're saying is I'm a pedophile, and that is not.
Well, that's what I'm thinking you are. I mean, can you think of anything other than
I
that,
can't.
Tom?
After what she just said, she went down, you wanted this weekend. You guys spent a whole weekend together. That's making me think, the way you're talking to me, that's a pedophile talking. The way you're talking. That's a pedophile. Or, Tim, I thought we were on the right track. I thought we were on the road to figuring this out. But all you're telling me is you weren't expecting anything. You were!
No, I wasn't. I was expecting to meet somebody.
You were going to spend all night,
if we have
all
a
weekend
connection,
long.
go from there.
You had plans.
I had plans to meet somebody.
You had plans. No, you had plans to be with him all weekend long. All weekend long. And to be with him romantically, sexually, however you want to put it, that's what you were going to do. And you were going to be with him and explore all those things. Age didn't matter to you. All of those things didn't matter. You found somebody you connected with. Tim, that's what
I found somebody I was connected with, but I did not find a 13-year-old child.
So the male interrogator doesn't seem to understand that his role at this point would be the good cop, because he immediately mirrors the female detective. Instead, he should have provided Tim with a way out of sorts. Asked him if he might have made a mistake in talking to the minor. He could have said, you know what, Tim? You and I have talked about this a bit, and I don't think you're a bad guy. I don't think you went out looking to talk to a child, because that's not who you are, Tim. You're not a pedophile. You said it yourself. Maybe you got online, maybe you were a little drunk, and you started talking to him looking for a friend. Is that what happened here, Tim, and then things got out of hand? You thread the needle, give him a way out that doesn't make him look nearly as bad as he does now. You give him something to agree with that gets you in the door, then slowly move forward. But he doesn't do that. He just yells back that he's a pedophile, which is technically accurate but not helpful in the situation. Again, the purpose of these interrogations is to glean more information as to how these predators operate, how they look for victims, and how children can be kept safe online. If we know more about these men and women, we can better spot them and protect the most vulnerable in our society. The second purpose is to potentially gain a confession which can be used to get a criminal conviction. But this interview is truly just garbage. There's almost nothing to be learned from here, except for what not to do. But hopefully none of you are ever put in this position.
Absolutely.
You did.
I made a mistake then. I made a mistake. Yes, I did.
You told him 3 different times that age didn't matter.
Well, age matters when it's 13 years old.
You know what? 13-year-old is good for you because he's innocent and he doesn't have all the baggage that your other relationships have had. And it'd be much easier to pull the wool over his eyes and be a slug and him think you're great.
No, I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah, you can help him explore his gayness. Yeah, that's where this was coming from.
No, it was not.
That's absolutely where it was coming from.
I came here to meet a friend, maybe a boyfriend, but not a 13-year-old kid. Then I made a mistake.
So Tim is now admitting that the person he came to meet might have been a 13-year-old. Though this is far from a confession, it is important, because he is now opening the door to being in the wrong. Before, he steadfastly denied that the person he was visiting said he was a child, that he was never made aware of that fact, and wouldn't have come if he had known. Now he is confessing that there is a possibility he was told and came anyways. This is the point where the male interrogator, if he was trying to portray the good cop, would ask him how he made that mistake. He should pretend that he is giving him the benefit of the doubt and ask him how that was possible. But do you think, based on how this interview has gone, that that will happen?
So what were you going to do with this boyfriend?
Then I would have left. If I would have found out, if I would have known, then I knew and then I just didn't realize it. Because when I looked on the website, it had a date, like 1974, something like that. So that's the connection that I thought. Okay.
You've already told me that everybody lies online. Why would you think that that's correct?
Until you meet somebody and go...
Until you chatted with him and he told you he was 13 years old.
I made a mistake.
And you said that was great. That was fine. You did not have a problem with the age difference.
Yes.
You talked to him about high school. You talked to him about girls at school and the boys if there are any gay boys at his school, at his high school.
Yeah, we talked about a lot of things.
So
we
you
talked
knew
about,
he wasn't 18.
I thought he was 18.
No, you didn't, Tim.
I swear I thought he was 18.
Come off of it. You knew he wasn't 18.
Tim, you don't say it 3 times. You don't forget 3
Well,
separate
then
times.
I can't type for shit.
Not in a
because-
day either.
Not in a
And
day.
you talked to him for 5 or 6 days.
5 or 6 days a week.
You
yes.
spent a lot of time grooming him and getting him ready for this day. Don't
No.
tell me. Don't
Ma'am,
tell me that you
what
weren't
do you
planning on coming here and having sex
No,
with him.
that's not my
That's
intentions. No,
absolutely
it's not.
your intention. You talked to him for 5 or 6 days all that
It's
time.
still not my intentions to go into and have sex with somebody that I don't know.
Why not?
Because
He's gay.
that's not. I don't care.
You don't?
That's
you
not
cared
what-
in the chat?
That's not what I'm looking for.
You absolutely cared in the chat if he was gay.
No. Did I? I did not say I care if you're gay. I
So
did
you-
not say
so you
that
like girls. You wanted
I
to
wanna
have sex with a
you.
girl.
I did not say that you're going to have sex with me or nothing. That's not what I'm
Yes,
looking
you
for.
did.
No.
Yes, you
No, I
did,
did
talk
not.
to him about it. Let's see.
I did not say
Page.
that you're going to have sex with me for nothing.
Let's talk about what you said. Go ahead, Tony.
You talked about it. You know, Tim, we can be over here or you can be here. Which is it? You need to make a decision.
I cannot say that.
You
to
wanted to be up here. You know, you wanted to be.
I'm just stretching,
Okay.
please. I've really got to go to the bathroom
Just have a
bad.
seat. We're almost done here.
I don't know what you want me to say to you, and I'm not going to sit there and say something that's not true.
I don't want you to tell me something that's not true. I don't want you to tell me
That's what
anything
you're
that's not
asking
true.
me.
Because that's not fair to you and that's not fair
No,
to me.
it's not.
And you know, what I'm telling you, I am telling you right now, is you come up here to be with him for the weekend and to have sex and do other things. I'm not saying it's just all one big sex exploit. You come up to do other things and you guys are going to have sex. That was the plan. That was what's going on. That's where we're at. Okay? Alright?
So the male officer seems to think that Tim's main hangup is the idea that he thinks that they think he was going to have a wild sex party, which he has never said or alluded to. I don't know where he's getting that notion from because Tim has been pretty clear that his issue is that he wouldn't have done that if he knew the decoy was a child. Instead of focusing on that point of contention, he keeps bringing up the crazy ex. It feels fairly nonsensical because Tim is telling him what the issue is and he keeps avoiding it. Though we have talked about police interviews in a straightforward manner, they are rarely that cut and dry. An interviewer has to react and change course on the fly, to glean new information and overcome new obstacles to make sure they are getting the most honest version of events. But this interviewer is barely even listening, based on everything that has happened thus far. It's irritating, because it feels like he is purposely missing the point.
If you want to be up here and everybody thinking you're that other person, go right ahead. Okay? I'm sure I can find a jury somewhere to say, oh yeah, that's the way Tim is. Okay? Tim, you come up here. You gotta get it, Tim, you gotta get this off your shoulders. If you don't get it off your shoulders,
You're
it's
not
gonna
gonna be
eat
able to
you,
move
it's gonna
forward.
eat you alive.
What do you want me to say to you? What do you
Well,
want me to
what
say
you
to
came
you?
up here and cut the bullshit out of it.
I came up here.
You come up here.
I came up here. Go ahead.
I want you to cut the bullshit.
I
That's all I'm
I
getting.
came up here to meet somebody.
You came up
Okay.
here to have sex
I did not-
with a child.
No, I did not.
You absolutely
I came up
did.
here to meet somebody. Hopefully, we had a connection.
And you wanted more. That was the weekend was planned
If
about.
I found a boyfriend, maybe, but I did not come
You
up here
found
to
that
find.
boyfriend in John.
I did not find a 13-year-old boyfriend.
You did.
I did not. No.
John, let's be honest with each other.
I am.
You know, if you, I can't get you over the hump, or we're going to be over there.
I don't. You keep saying over there. What?
The pedophile, the guy that everybody creeps everybody out, the one that you're worried about. You know, did you make a mistake, and you felt there was a connection,
Yeah,
you
I made a
thought-
mistake. I thought there was a connection.
and you come up here to be with John romantically for the weekend and have a weekend to get away from all your troubles, all the things that have been bothering you, being fired from your job, having to, with everything going downhill, you had one weekend where all those things could be away.
No. You're saying that, no, that's not what I'm looking for. That's not what I was looking for.
Then what is it?
You're
That's
saying
what
that I
they're
came up
saying.
here to have sex.
You came
That's
up
it.
here to have sex.
No.
You were going to stay all weekend. You said, I'll come over after work Friday if you want. We'll probably want to spend all weekend with you.
If-
You were going to continue that grooming process
No, I mean-
right on from the chat room, and you were going to have sex with this boy and give him oral sex over and over and over all weekend long.
I'm sorry, no.
Yes,
if I
you
was
were.
came up here to meet somebody, okay. If we liked each other, okay.
If you liked each other,
Okay, that's
what?
fine. Maybe it'll go to a friendship, boyfriend. Maybe. I'm not looking for one night stand. I'm not, that's not what I was looking for.
But then why would you tell him all this?
What, that I'm looking for one night stand?
No, why would you tell him what all these things about a blowjob and taking
I
showers
don't know.
together? Why would you tell him?
I don't know. I don't know. We
You told
talked
him
about
you all
all
liked to
different
give
kinds of
head.
stuff. We talked about all kinds of different things.
You asked him if he had done that before. And you told him you liked to jack off a lot. And you said you would give him head if he wanted you to. How often do you jack off? You got me hard now. Truthfully, I'm thinking about jacking off. These are your words, not mine. I'm not making these up. These are yours. How old were you? 13 or 14? Oh, so my age. You remember that, I'm sure. Those
Not
are all
really.
your words. Black and white, right here. Can't deny them.
But still, you're saying that I came up here for one reason and one reason only. And that is not true.
To have
Unexpectedly, they have made progress, but it's unclear if they realize that or not. Earlier, Tim said he came to meet with a friend and potentially seek out a love connection, but maintained that he would have left had he found the boy was actually 13. The female interviewer reads out some of their sexual chats, specifically one where the decoy's age is mentioned, and instead of saying that he didn't remember that he thought it was a role play, or one of the other horrible excuses we've seen used, he stands by the messages, but says he wasn't looking for a one-night stand. In his mind, because he was earnestly seeking a relationship with the decoy, it's somehow less bad. Again, this is something that they can build upon, because he's now not denying that he came there for the weekend and came there to have sex. So let's see what they do with that piece of information.
sex
No, that's not true.
with a 13-year-old.
That's not true. That's not the reason I came up here.
No, we can't help her.
I don't know what else you want me to say. I'm not
There-
going to lie
there's-
to you, and I'm not, that's not what I
You
came up here
have
for.
lied. You've lied to me for over an hour now. I'm tired of being lied to.
And the only unless you become honest with me, the only other thing is I'll just hand this over to somebody and say, hey, this is what he's saying, this is what the evidence says, you make your decision.
And they're going to say, "Nah, he's a pedophile."
That's
I can
what they're-
tell you what they're going to say.
What
They're
do you
gonna
want me to say? That I can't. What do you really want me to say?
I want you to tell me the truth.
That is the truth. I came up here to meet a guy, okay,
And be with him.
and be with him, and go from there. Hopefully, find a boyfriend, watch movies, get to
Have
know
sex.
each other. If it maybe have
Jack
sex,
off, give oral.
maybe, but
No,
not the age
no.
thing.
That's what you were going to do.
You can't say that's what I was going to do because I never met
That's what
the
you
person.
wanted to do.
You never met the person.
You wanted
That's
to do
what
that.
you wanted to do. Wasn't it?
I don't know.
Wasn't
Until
it,
I meet,
Tim?
no,
That's what you
I did
wanted
not,
to do.
I did
You
not
said
sit
it
there.
in the chat.
I did not sit there and fantasize.
That's what you wanted
because
to
I
do,
did not
Tim.
know the person.
You wanted to have oral sex with him. You wanted to masturbate.
I did not
With
know
him.
him, so I could not say
You
that.
wanted to
I mean,
have sex.
over the chat.
You knew him on the chat.
Over the chat.
You
how-
were coming to know more about him, to have oral sex,
I was coming to know more about him, to get to know him better,
to masturbate.
to maybe go
with
see a
him
movie,
because
go
he
watch
made
movies,
you hard.
go maybe bowling or something.
Yeah, and that's how you groom somebody.
Well, I don't
To
know
do
about
that.
that. I don't know about that.
Well, they did virtually nothing with that admission. Tim just admitted that he came to the Sting house to meet the person he talked to online, to go on a date, and then to have sex. The person who he was going to have sex with identified themselves as a teen multiple times over, including in the chat she just read out, but for some reason, they're not addressing that fact, or showing that he objectively did know the age, which makes this confrontation feel fairly toothless. They are just agreeing with each other loudly that he came there to seek a romantic connection, but avoiding the part of that situation that makes it illegal. I feel like everyone involved in this interview is confused.
Oh, I think you know a lot
No.
more than you pretend to know.
No.
You're 42 years old.
Yeah.
I'm not 13.
Okay.
I'm not falling for it.
I don't know. That's not what I came up here for, and I'm not going to tell you that's what I came up here for.
Then I guess we'll just have to pass this off and
Yeah,
they'll
I mean, Tim,
I'm
see
sorry.
what they
I'm
see
not
and they'll
gonna-
Yeah.
think what they think. And
you know, I think we've given you every chance to lay it on the line. And, I've tried every which way to understand.
What, I'm looking for a boyfriend?
No, I've been trying to
I mean-
understand. Tim, I've tried to understand everything you've told me. And we went from nothing kind of happened to something a little happened. Maybe what could have happened. And then we're at this point. And I've tried to understand. But every moment, every time I talk, every time we question answer, it's like you're stalling.
What am I stalling for?
I don't know.
You know?
You know, if we can't be honest with each other.
I have been honest with you.
No,
Yes, I have. I told
Tim,
you why I came up here.
Tim,
That is the reason I came up here.
Tim, I'm being straight up with you, okay? If you want to look like a pedophile, that's fine. Nothing I can do about that, okay? If you come up here to be with somebody, be with John, and you knew the age, you knew what was going to happen this weekend, you had plans set in sight, that's one thing. I'm not saying you're a mass guy going out molesting boys and this. I'm not saying that. I'm not trying to go there. And this whole time I've been with you, and Agent Reed has been with you. We're not trying to say he's that.
You're trying to make me admit saying that I'm that.
But
You know,
Tim,
that's
Tim,
not.
no, Tim.
we're trying
That's
to get
what
you
you-
to be
that's-
honest with
I am
yourself
honest. That is
about
what
what has happened.
Yes, I realize what has happened.
Tim.
You know, the whole thing was a lie.
This is actually a huge step forward in this interrogation, because it shows how Tim now views the situation. If you've watched our previous videos going over these stings, there inevitably comes a moment where the predators languish in their own misery, because they feel like they've been lied to. Sure, they spent days, sometimes weeks, talking to someone who they thought was below the age of 14, and okay, they traveled hours away to sleep with said minor. But the real issue is that they weren't actually talking to a child. They are the victims in this situation, because they were lied to. The child they thought they were going to groom didn't even exist, which is really heartbreaking for them and it's really difficult. Their worst case scenario was that a child wasn't there, even though to any rational adult they would see that as a good thing. And again, Tim has steadfastly denied that he would have been intimate with the decoy had he been aware of the age, that he wouldn't have talked to him at all if he knew that he was 13 years old, and even still, he feels betrayed. He doesn't really think it's a good thing that the child wasn't there, that he hadn't accidentally groomed a 13-year-old online by his own estimation. He would have preferred arriving at the Sting house, meeting with said minor, and being left to his own devices. Why would he be upset that a 13-year-old didn't exist if he didn't want to meet said 13-year-old?
Tim.
What whole thing was a lie?
The whole thing was a setup.
You're coming here?
Huh?
You're coming
I thought
here?
that I came here to meet somebody, okay? To get to know somebody. Maybe be friends. Maybe a boyfriend. I did not realize, that it was a child. If I would have found out that, I would have probably maybe watched the movie and left.
Again, this is a massive update to his defense, because now he's not even denying that he would have hung out with a 13-year-old had he been real. Before, he claimed he could have turned right back around and wouldn't have even considered being friends with a minor, but now that there's more information, He admits that he would have. This is again extremely common in these predator stings. We saw it with Jeff Sokol when he said that he should have been left with the decoy to see if he would have made a move on her before the police came in, but he swears that he wouldn't have, which is a strange defense, when these are also the people who, moments before, contended that they would have never talked to a minor at all. You already lied about this situation that you created, so why should we, the public, believe that you wouldn't take things a step further?
And you would have stayed there a little bit longer.
You would have stayed all weekend.
No, I would not have. I don't have any clothes with me to stay all weekend. I
You
don't.
would have cuddled.
No.
You would have hung out together. You would have
Sorry.
gotten to know each other.
Not if I would have known that this
You would have
kid
had
was
a
13 years old.
relationship. You could have had a boyfriend. You could have had a relationship.
Not with a 13. How are you
But
going to
you're
have?
not
How are you
having-
going to have a relationship with a 13-year-old?
Maybe you need to answer that question.
You can't. That's impossible. That's what I'm saying. That's
So
not.
your intentions were never to have a relationship with this boy. It was to come and have sex.
No, that's
Since
not
you knew
true.
he was 13
I
years
did not
old,
realize he
and
was
you
13 years
visited
old.
that issue 3 to 4 times
did
in
not
your
realize
chats
that he was
over
13
5 to
years
6
old.
days. You did too.
Then I made a mistake. I thought it was 18.
There is no mistake in this. You came all the way from Indianapolis to be with a
No.
13-year-old boy who was exploring his sexuality.
I'm sorry, but that's not. You're saying I came here to have sex, and that's not true. That is not true.
Well, you
I'm
didn't
not-
come here to have a relationship because
I
you
didn't.
said you couldn't have one with a 13-year-old.
I didn't know he was 13. I swear I thought he was 18.
Come on, Tim.
Then I made a mistake.
We have run around in circles here.
Yes. I did not
Age-
realize that.
Tim, age does not matter.
Age matters when to
Tim.
that when it goes
You
down
said
to
it doesn't
that.
matter.
When it goes to that, yes, it does matter.
I'm not interested in the age. I'm interested in the guy.
Yeah,
And
when
that's
you're
what you
13
found.
years old.
And that's
No.
what you found in John. You found somebody you were interested in. You came up here to be with him. To be with him several different ways. One to watch the movies, one to cuddle, probably to have oral sex, probably to have actual sex. That was what's going to happen. I'm not saying it was a free-for-all. That was what
You can't say that's what was going to happen because I don't know if that's what was going to
that's
happen.
what you intended.
I
That's
don't
what
know.
you wanted. That's what you were dreaming about. That's what you were hoping for.
I was hoping to meet a friend.
You were hoping that
Maybe
this,
a boyfriend.
You
Sure.
you were hoping that this could be a nice weekend, a romantic weekend with John, alone, nobody around. That's what this weekend was about. That's where the truth lies.
This weekend was
Tim.
about meeting somebody,
Tim,
maybe friends,
Tim,
maybe.
that's where the truth lies. Now, if you want to meet me there, I'll meet you halfway. I will meet you halfway. Okay?
What are you talking about? Meet me halfway.
You're just telling me the same thing. Oh, I didn't know. Maybe it couldn't happen. Maybe it probably wouldn't happen. I don't know. You said verbatim what you wanted to do when you came up this weekend. That's what you had in mind. That's what probably was going to happen. I'm not saying that you did anything. I'm not saying you ever had a chance to do anything. I'm not saying that. But that's what you intended for this weekend to be about, was to explore those things you talked about. If you didn't, you wouldn't have said it. And you told me that already. If it wasn't going to be that, you wouldn't have said it. You wouldn't have said it. That's what this weekend was about. The weekend was going to be something special. Something that you could get away with all the other
If I
things.
can meet friends, yes.
Meet-
I mean, if I can meet a friend,
friends.
maybe relationship, yeah.
This was going to be something special. Was going to be a special weekend. This was one of the things that you guys talked about. You were guys going to try them out. That's the truth. That's the reality. Okay. I'm not saying you did any of those things. Tim, I have not once said you did any of those things. Okay. But that's what this weekend was about. That's what we're talking about. And you know, I'm telling you straight up. I'm telling you the truth. That's what this weekend was about.
I don't know what that's, I don't know until,
And I'm not saying Tim, we've been all over this issue, this and that. I can read, I know, this is what it's about. This is what's going to happen. Tim, I know. That's what it was about. And I know. And you know I know. Okay? Tim, this was what the weekend was about, wasn't it?
The weekend was about meeting somebody.
Tim.
I'm sorry.
Tim,
that's what the weekend
Tim,
was about.
don't. Tim, I am reaching.
It wasn't even a weekend.
Tim, I am reaching out to you.
I'm sure you are.
I'm throwing you a rope to help you.
Help me? How are you helping me? I don't understand.
Well, you know what? You're not being honest with me, so I'll treat you like a pedophile.
I don't understand
I'll
what
treat
you
you
want.
like a pedophile. I'll just say, you know what? He wasn't honest with me.
I have been honest with you.
He yanked me around left,
I
right,
came up
left,
here.
right.
I came up here to meet somebody. Okay, friends, maybe a boyfriend. Okay, go from there.
And what do you mean by go from there?
A boyfriend, relationship. Go build a relationship. Go from there.
And you're going to do
in
that.
a relationship.
And you're going to do that in one weekend.
I would know if I liked somebody by meeting them within, a few hours of getting to know somebody.
Again, we're back to the circular conversation. Everyone here is confused, and no one knows what they're trying to establish in this conversation at all, which makes it extremely annoying to listen to. They keep talking past each other, to the point where the pedophile is the one making the most sense here, which should never be the case. Tim has openly admitted to traveling to try and establish a romantic sexual relationship with the decoy. He only contends that he didn't know his age. Instead of going over the evidence that he did in fact know the age, brought it up multiple times in the chat logs, and that they don't need his admission because they have his chat logs, they continue to say that he was going to stay the weekend, which he has already admitted. The male interrogator also continues to state that he wants to help him, to meet him halfway, but he doesn't actually express what that means or how it would even benefit Tim. They have not hammered in how concrete the evidence is against him, so when the detective says he needs to meet him halfway so he can help him, all Tim hears is that he needs to confess to something that there's no proof of. He doesn't realize that there is a significant amount of proof against him, and that they don't need a confession from him, because they keep focusing on the wrong things. So this guy doesn't even know what's going on. This is crazy. Because they have paid more attention to the idea that he was going to stay for the weekend, instead of the fact that he objectively knew he was meeting a child, he doesn't see how they can help him in any meaningful way.
Tim, I'm reaching. All I can tell him is he wasn't honest with me. He wasn't honest with me.
What? I don't know what you want me to tell you.
I'll let people think what they want to think. And I'm giving you every last option to be there. But you're giving me no other option other to say, he wasn't honest with me. I know what was going to happen this weekend.
I don't know what was going to happen. I don't know what was going to happen. I don't know.
You chatted with him.
I chatted with him. I talked to him. We talked about all different. We talked about going bowling. We talked about watching movies. We talked about sex. We talked about school. We talked about work. We talked about life.
Okay.
We talked about everything. From one thing to the other.
And then this weekend was going to be special.
Did I say it was going to be special?
I think as much as you talk to him, I think it's going to be special. It's going to be a fun weekend.
I don't know.
You hoped it was going to be fun.
Nobody's going to come there. Oh, gee, I hope I have a miserable time. I hope nothing happens. You don't go into something like that with that time of.
I don't hope something's going to happen. Unless I like somebody, I'm not going to go and have sex with somebody I don't know.
John.
Or if it's 13 years old, nothing would have happened. I'm sorry.
And you like John. And you like.
I did like him. I liked the how he portrayed, but it was all a setup.
And that was going. And this weekend was about the next step. That's what this weekend was about. It was the next step.
This weekend was about getting to know somebody a little better.
The next step.
and going from there, not having sex with him. I'm sorry, it's not what it was about.
It was having a good time. I'll give you that. It was about having a good time.
What's a good time? Good time like watching
Cuddling,
movies.
watching movies,
You know,
making out.
I don't know. You know, that's a good time.
That is a good time. Cuddling, making out, watching
Sure.
movies, holding each other. That's a good time.
I mean,
And
nothing would have happened though because of the age. I'll guarantee that.
Tim,
I'm sorry.
It would have.
I have never went after a child
And
where I never
just
will.
like when you were 13 and 14 and you explored for the first time, you were going to be there with him. No matter the age, no matter the time, that was your and his moment. That's what the weekend. That was your,
You know,
that
I mean-
was your, no matter, your first time 13, 14. That's a special age.
Yeah, but it's still
And
a
you-
child, and no,
and
I'm
you
not
know
going to
what?
do that
And-
with a child.
And you were going to be there. Would you rather have somebody that didn't know what they were doing, or have somebody who could be there and be caring and be gentle and be I'm not saying a teacher, but be someone to show him.
No. I'm sorry.
Damn,
No.
that you were going to be there for him.
Not at
You-
that, no. I mean,
And
I would have
it
met the
was-
guy.
You,
I would have met the guy fine. We would have watched movies fine.
You experienced.
If I would have found out, if I would have realized
you
the age.
and that
But
wouldn't have been.
you keep saying that, but I did not
telling
really
him you were going to
realize it.
protect him from his mom, so that she wouldn't find out. That you wouldn't
No.
let anything happen to him. You knew he was a child.
I didn't know he was 13 years old.
Then why? Then if he was 18, why would you say don't tell your mom?
Because a lot of
Because
people
he-
live with their mom at 18 years
At
old
18
and flip out.
Tim, when you turn 18, you're an adult.
Yes, you are, but,
And you know what?
you know,
Nobody's. You don't tell an 18-year-old, oh, don't tell your mom.
when you talk
Yeah,
about
but-
something like that, yeah, you do.
Well, that's normally
I mean,
most people that are 18 have that control that they don't tell their moms what they do. You've been 18, I've been 18, and Ancient Reed's been 18. We've
Yes,
all been
right,
18.
Right.
When I was 18, I didn't need somebody to tell me, oh, don't tell mom that we're doing this. Agent Reed
I
at
don't
18.
know. I know people like that at 18.
Tim.
I've known people
You
like
don't-
that that are 35 and 40 and still live at home with mom and dad.
Oh wow.
But
You
you
know,
know what?
It's pretty sad.
But you know what? But they're not telling, those people are not telling, oh, don't tell nobody. I think most people would get the hint at that age. Don't, they understand that. But you knew the age. You knew that didn't matter because
That
This
would
was
have
one-
mattered. I'm sorry.
it wouldn't have
Yes,
mattered.
it would have. Yes, it would have. It would have mattered. There's no way. There's no way. No.
Tim, in
It
your
was
own
about the person.
words. In your own words.
No. I made a mistake.
Age
Then
doesn't
it
matter.
makes
It's
yes.
the guy I'm interested
Sure.
in.
If you're thinking
If
is
you're
a
thinking
friendship.
they're
If
13,
you're a friend-
which is what you said in
friendship,
the
but
chat.
not sex with a 13-year-old,
And you
14-year-old,
didn't want his
15-year-old,
mom to
12-year-old.
know because she would have
Friends.
cut it off immediately.
Friends. That's fine. But no.
Tim is no longer firmly denying that he wasn't aware that the decoy said he was a minor, which is another step in the right direction. Before, he claimed he would never have spoken with him. Now he says that he would, and that he would likely have hung out with him, regardless of the age difference.
I'm not going to have sex with a 13-year-old. That's not what I came down here for.
Then
I
why
don't care
would you
what
hide?
was
Why wouldn't
said.
you come and visit him when his mother was home if you're not
I don't
afraid?
know, because it was the only weekend I had.
Because you're 42 years old, and his mother
I
would
thought he
not
was-
have looked kindly on him having a stranger that he doesn't even know come to his house and that's talked to him about sex online.
Well, talking and having it is different.
Tim's new argument is that, sure, he did talk to someone who he believed was a 13-year-old sexually, but he wasn't actually going to have sex with them, even though he traveled all the way to the home specifically when the fictional child's mother was away. So his theory has gone from, he didn't know the age and never would have spoken to a minor at all had he known, to, he didn't know the age, but would have still met up with and befriended a minor, to now being he might have known the age, but he wasn't actually going to go through with having sex with him. I mean, God. His story continues to change. and in a more structured interview, they could use these changes and slight admissions to move the needle forward. But that's not what happens here. It truly feels like no one even knows what's going on.
I mean, I would not have had sex with him. I'm sorry.
You wouldn't have come if his mom was home either, would you?
I don't know. I probably wouldn't have met him. I'm sure I would have met him.
Somewhere else.
18 years old, yes, I would have came to his house.
If his mother was home.
If his mother was home.
Well, then why did you try and come today and his mother wasn't home?
Why did I try to come
Because he
today?
was 13.
See, that's where I didn't realize it. I mean, I made a mistake.
Oh, Tim.
Then I
You're
did
just
it.
lying to
Then I said
yourself
it,
over and over and over.
Then I made a mistake.
You can call it that.
Yeah. I read that on his picture, the date, and I just, okay.
No. Tim, you didn't read that.
Yes, I did.
No,
You didn't read
Yes,
that.
I did. I'm sorry.
Tim,
But even then, I still would not have had sex with a 13-year-old kid.
Tim, it didn't matter.
I never have, and I never will.
It's not about the age. It's about the person.
It is about the age. That's what this whole thing is about. It's the age.
No, it's about.
And the whole time, I did. I thought he was 18.
Okay, so you're talking to him.
I wouldn't have had sex with any, if he wasn't 18. But I don't know if I'd have sex with anybody. I know I wouldn't have sex with anybody, just meeting somebody. I'm sorry, no.
Take care of some paperwork. I think we ought to give Mr. Town a few minutes to.
Yeah.
Can I please use the bathroom?
I think we'll come back and get you in a few minutes. We'll take care of some paperwork. We'll check back in on you.
I can't, though, use the bathroom?
Just
You need
give
to
us a
stay
minute,
right there.
okay?
Please,
We'll
Just
be
give
right
us. I'll
really
give you a minute,
Need to
okay?
go.
Okay.
The two interrogators leave the room and try to come up with a new technique, and eventually, Tim is allowed to go to the bathroom. The following is where the interview picks back up.
Yeah, no, yeah.
Yeah. But you can be a guy with a problem, or you can be a pedophile. And I can help you work through that.
Though what she is saying here is close to what the male officer said earlier, it's pointedly different. Enough time has passed that Tim should be well aware that there is enough evidence that points to his guilt. While he was going to the bathroom, he had time to realize that they do have the chat logs. They said he referenced the decoy's age throughout it, and they even read him some of the statements. At the time, the other officer gave Tim this choice. They hadn't confronted the chat logs, and then later on, too much was happening around that for him to fully process what they were even telling him, but it should have sunk in by this point. Because of that, when she says that he can either be a guy with a problem or a pedophile, she is holding out a metaphorical life preserver. He could either say he made a mistake or that he deliberately went after a minor, as there is evidence that directly shows that happened. So let's see his response.
But I need you to talk to me. We're looking 5 to 10 years prison time for what's happened here tonight. And you know how this works. You know, if you actually talk about your issues, your problems, all people have them, then, you know, a judge is going to want to hear that as opposed to, oh, I didn't know. I didn't do this.
What do you want me to tell you? I'm not going
I want you to tell me what you intended to do
I told
when
you.
you came here.
I told you.
I want you to tell me how you knew this person was underage. It's obvious in your chats that you knew this. And I'm not buying this song and dance that you didn't know he was 18 or 13. You thought he was 18. You think he was 18 now because that's what you want to think up here. But that's not what it was. You knew he was 13.
No. Looking at his page, name had a date, which basically insinuates how old you were.
And by
Okay?
his name,
And then I made a mistake.
and by his name, his screen name, it said 93.
No, I'm talking about gay.com.
And you told me everybody lies on the internet.
Well, yeah, I know, and that's how when you meet somebody, that's how you know.
Pausing just to say that there was never an older age given. That's just a lie that Tim is using to try and say he isn't actually responsible for trying to prey on a minor. There are a few lies that most of these predators give when confronted. I didn't know their age. I thought they were role-playing. Sure, they said they were 13, but they looked older. I wasn't going to do anything. I technically didn't do anything wrong, and so on. The fact that we are an hour into this interrogation, and this is one of the first times Tim is bringing up that there was an older age on the profile, is telling.
So then you talked to him and he told you he was 13. You knew he was 13.
See, then I made a mistake, man.
Okay, it's a mistake.
Then I made a mistake.
But it's going to be a mistake that's going to cost you 5 to 10 years. Unless you deal with it here and now.
I don't understand what you want me to tell you. You just want me to tell you something that isn't true or incriminate myself so you can put me in jail.
Because the first portion of this interrogation was such a clusterfuck, Tim still doesn't understand the breadth of evidence that there is against him. They spent so much time focusing on whether or not he was going to spend the weekend or just sleep with him, if the minor was going to be his boyfriend or just his friend, and because of this, he doesn't realize that they have him explicitly telling someone that he believed to be a minor that he wanted to have sex with them, and they don't need his confession.
Incriminate yourself.
Yeah, because that's what...
I'm not asking you to incriminate yourself.
You're telling...
I'm asking you to tell
I'm
me
not gonna...
what you were doing.
I told you, I came here to meet somebody, okay? Friends, maybe a relationship, okay. I did not come here to have sex with somebody, and that's it. That's not what I was looking for. That's not what I was looking for.
Well, you know you're going to jail.
For what?
For what you've done tonight. You drove all the way down here to see an underage child. You talked about sex with them online, on chat. You talked about giving them head. You talked about sleeping with them, cuddling. You were going to stay all weekend. You asked if their mom wasn't home. You were going to protect them if nothing happened. And to boot, you said if your mom kicks you out, you can come and live with me.
Yeah, a 13-year-old kid.
And then you wanted to meet him somewhere, and what'd they tell you? I can't drive. An 18-year-old can drive, can't they?
Unless you lost your license.
You knew this kid hadn't lost his license.
Maybe I did realize that. I just, but still, nothing would have happened sex-wise.
The female interrogator breaks down exactly why Tim has been arrested and why he will be going to jail, which he seemed genuinely confused about, and his only response is that even if everything she said was true, that nothing would have happened, quote, sex-wise, had the decoy been a real 13-year-old. And that's bullshit. We know that that's bullshit because at every interval in this interview, Tim has attempted to lie.
No.
Nothing would have happened sex-wise.
No. Not to a child. I'm sorry. I don't care.
Tim, I see how this developed. You've had horrible relationships. People have manipulated you, treated you like garbage.
You don't know me.
Even your own parents
You don't know me.
don't
My
agree
parents,
with who you are.
What are you
and
talking
what
about?
you're
My parents are great people. How can you say that?
You talked about it in your chat.
They might not. Yeah.
That they would flip out.
They probably would. I guess they're going to find out, though.
So you hide everything about you. You can't be real with anybody out there, can you? But online you can. And with this innocent 13-year-old, he's not going to judge you because all he's looking for is somebody to understand him.
When the interrogator brings up things that he said in the chat logs, he immediately denies that his parents were anything but wonderful people. He perceives her words as an attack on his family, even though she is going off of things that he has said previously. The main issue that she runs into is the fact that Tim was lying to the decoy in order to build trust. The decoy talked about his home life, how he could never come out to his parents, and how even if they were to get into a relationship, they could never be public. And Tim feigned understanding, telling the boy about his own family issues, which were apparently made up. With all the other issues that have come up in this interview, Tim not only doesn't trust the interrogator, but he likely believes she is bad at her job, which she is not.
See, no, man. See, you're trying to say
It's
that
so easy.
I did not come
to get
here.
caught up in that.
I
You
did-
need acceptance.
I
Tim
didn't-
and I understand that, but until you understand that, we're not going to get anywhere with this process.
But you're telling me that I came up here to have sex with a 13-year-old kid, and that is not what I came up here for.
But that's all you did in the chat was talk about how you were going to come and see him. You spent 5 and 6 days talking to this kid. You already told me that you hoped to have more than just a friend relationship.
Maybe a boyfriend,
To have
but not with a
boyfriend,
13-year-old
But then
kid.
you told me with boyfriends that you have more than just a friendship, that you have an intimate relationship, and sometimes you give head or have sex.
But not with a child.
But you told me you already realized that this was a child. Tim,
I would not have had sex with a child. I'm sorry. I did not come up here to meet a child to have sex with a child.
Tim, you talked to him about the Easter Bunny. An Easter basket.
God, everybody, I got an Easter basket.
You asked him if he still believed in the Easter Bunny. Don't tell me you thought
Come
he was
on,
18
I did
years
not ask
old.
somebody if they...
You absolutely asked him.
No.
The following is the chat log where Tim brings up the Easter Bunny. Tim, I hope you don't think it is real. Decoy, winky face, what you talking about? Tim, Easter Bunny, LOL. So, he did ask him about the Easter Bunny, and that's the issue with Tim. He keeps denying things we have proof of. So when he says we just need to trust that he wasn't going to have sex with a minor, that he hoped was real, we have no real reason to trust him. He's done absolutely nothing to establish that he is a man of his word, or that he has any morals at all.
Do you still believe in Easter Bunny?
Oh, yeah.
No.
Oh, yeah. And it's in black and white. Now come off of it. Any judge is going to see that. Any jury is going to see that, and they're going to say, this guy is absolutely a pedophile.
Well,
he
then I
needs
guess
to
it's
be
going to have to go that
locked
far.
away.
You know, it's going to have to go that far then. Because I'm not a pedophile. I'm not after, that's not what I was after.
What were you after, Tim?
Huh?
You were after a
I was told you,
relationship
I was
with
after-
a 13-year-old.
I did not realize he was 13 years old. There's no way.
Do you generally talk to 18-year-olds about the Easter Bunny?
Sure.
Yeah.
But I got
you
an
talk
Easter
to him
basket, for
about
God's sakes.
Going to high school, and you talk to them about their friends and if they're gay and what it's
Yeah.
like to be 13
I mean,
or
I was
14.
18. I was still in high school.
But you tell an 18-year-old that you know what it's like to be 13.
When I first had sex at 13, I did not realize this.
You had
It seems that the real weight of what he's been brought in for is finally weighing on him. His arguments are getting more fragmented. He's shaking and rubbing his head, and he is trying to self-soothe to the best of his ability.
sex at 13.
I had sex when I first lost my virginity was probably at 13, 14, right around there.
What was the circumstance?
What do you mean?
Did you seek it out, or did
No, I don't.
someone
It was just
approach you
it was just a mutual thing
with who?
in high school.
With a friend? With an older person?
I don't want to go there.
With,
I don't want to go there.
well, I mean, you brought it up. I'm just
I
trying
know,
to help
I
you
brought
out.
it up,
I
but
mean,
that's,
you're trying to help me understand, and I think you brought it up for a reason.
What? That I had sex when I was 13 years old?
Yeah?
That's probably when I lost my virginity.
Did somebody molest you?
No.
So you had sex willingly?
Mm-hmm.
Was it with someone your age or someone older?
My age.
How did that relationship turn out?
Friends.
So, were you exploring your homosexuality at that time?
Actually, it was not. It was with a girl.
It was with a
My
girl.
first time, yes.
So, is that when you figured out that you weren't interested in girls?
I don't know. I thought off and on, you know? I mean, I had girlfriends in high school. You know, I don't know. I like men better. Sure. I do believe so. I still
young
think,
men better?
I don't like children. You know, I'm not looking for,
I didn't
that's
say
not
children,
what,
I
I'm
said
not,
young men.
that's not what that's not even right.
What's not right?
For underage, that's not right to have sex with somebody underage. It's not right.
And that's
not
why there's
me.
laws,
Yeah,
and
and that's not
that's
me.
why we're
I didn't
talking
do it.
about
and that's-
5 to 10 years.
Well, I didn't do it. I wouldn't do it. I mean, that's not right. That's not right.
You chatted with a child online.
Now, I didn't realize that, though. I mean, I did not realize
You
that
did realize it, and I have it in the chat. And you also,
Well, I didn't realize it. I mean, I might have said it. I just, it just didn't click, I guess.
So now Timothy's reasoning is that, sure, he might have talked to the decoy about their age, brought up that they said that they were 13 on multiple occasions, and asked them if they still believed in the Easter Bunny, but he didn't realize that. That isn't possible. Again, his arguments are constantly changing and getting worse, because he is coming to terms with the gravity of the situation. Within 10 minutes of the female interrogator sitting alone with him, she's able to do more than the entire first hour.
so is this the profile you saw for John?
Yeah.
Okay. And can you show me where on here you thought that he was 18?
I can't.
Because it's not there and it never was.
Here it says he's 73.
Yeah, but then on his,
Yeah.
Yahoo.
See, I've
it says he's 13.
never looked at that.
Which you also went there.
Location.
See, Tim? You
See,
what
that's
this,
where.
No, you see what
I
this
mean,
looks like?
Yeah, I see what it looks like. It's terrible.
It's absolutely terrible.
Yes, it is.
And a jury?
I still would not.
A jury will not.
I still would not have had
A
sex
group
with
of your peers
13-year-old
is
children.
not going to see it that way. It looks like your intent, your motivation, everything. It's right there on the line. You're a pedophile. You're a predator.
That's not. It was not my intentions. It was not my intentions. You can't make me say that that was my intentions, because that's not what my intentions were.
Tell me
I'm
what
sorry.
your intentions were.
I told you. I told you.
But you've told me everything except what you did in that chat. Except what
Well,
you
we talked
actually
about
said in
sex
the chat.
and
that
stuff
you,
like that, but I still don't. I would not have sex with somebody without meeting them, getting to know them, and going from
And
there.
that's what you intended to
And-
do, was meet them, get to know them, and go
But
from
if it was
there,
a child-
which means have
If
sex.
it was a child, no.
You knew it was a child.
I did
Tim.
not know it was a child. I'm sorry.
Tim, you did.
I did not. Come on.
You knew it was a child.
Look,
That's enough.
I'm not going to take anything from you. Come on, man.
I know what the chats say. You know what the chats say. We'll just let a judge and a jury see them.
I guess that's,
The profile
Yeah.
doesn't say what you said it said.
No, but it's 73.
It says age 73.
Right, that's what,
Age.
I thought that was like birth date. I made a mistake.
You thought it was birthday, so whenever you were in there, you asked how old he was.
Yeah.
And he said 13, and you said age didn't matter because it was the guy you're interested in.
See, I made a mistake, because I
You
still
didn't
would
make
not.
a mistake, you
I
knew.
still would not have went for somebody because they're underage. I'm looking, 18 would have been fine.
Let's go over his argument, just for the few contrarians in the audience who like to argue that men like Tim did nothing wrong. His defense is that even though he spent a week talking to who he believed to be a 13-year-old from morning to night, even though he made plans to drive and see him and spend the weekend with him having sex, then followed through with those plans and did drive to see him, that once he got there, if there had been a real 13-year-old there, he would have had a change of heart and decided not to sleep with him. So why should we believe him? He admitted to lying in this interview. We know he lied about his relationship with his parents. We know that he was ready and willing to engage sexually with a minor, a step that most people would never even consider. But now we are supposed to just forget all of that and trust him to tell the truth in this instance. To emphasize how ludicrous this very concept is, let me explain it using a separate crime. Say someone posts to a message board saying they're going to shoot up a bank. They post their entire plan on this board, how they are going to go to the bank every day for a week, scope it out and take pictures. Then on the day of, go to the shooting range, buy a coffee, then shoot up the bank. The police then become aware of this plan and follow the person throughout the week. They see them go to the bank every day, take the pictures, then go to the shooting range, grab that coffee, and then finally go to the bank. Before they're able to get in the doors, though, they are arrested, because even though they haven't technically robbed the bank yet, it's reasonable to assume, based on their actions, that they were probably going to. They then claim that, sure, they said they would, and yeah, they started their little plan, but they probably would have had a change of heart before they had pulled out the gun, so they shouldn't have been arrested before going into the bank. If law enforcement have enough information to show intent to commit a crime, they do not need to wait until innocent people, especially innocent children, are hurt. These stings are done to prevent people like Tim from being able to access and predate on actual minors, and you should not want a minor to actually be placed into their crosshairs.
He didn't have
But
a
I
car.
made a mistake.
He didn't have a car. He didn't have a driver's license. He couldn't meet you somewhere because he was
Well,
13
I didn't
years
put
old.
2 and 2 together
you
that he
knew
was
that.
13 years old. I did not know that. I did not. I mean, I did not know that.
Well, we have some paperwork to fill out, so when you go to the jail, they'll have your information.
Why do I have to go to jail?
Because you have committed a crime. You're not going home today. I don't know if you understand that or not.
Yeah.
When they read you your rights, it's because you were under arrest. When they threw you down on the floor at the house, it's because you were under arrest because you had committed a crime. This is serious.
Yeah,
this is
I know,
not a
I know.
joke,
That's
and
why
you're
you
not
keep-
walking out the front
You
door
keep saying
without a pair of cuffs on.
You keep saying that though. That what? I can't go like this.
The remainder of the footage is them filling out paperwork, and the male interviewer trying to explain to him how what he did was in fact a crime. As we have no commentary, I'll be talking over that footage, but should you want to see it, it'll be linked down below. After his arrest, Timothy was held on a $100,000 bond, which he could not pay. He was charged and later convicted of 1 federal felony count of interstate travel to engage in the sexual assault of a minor. He was sentenced to almost 4 years in federal prison, 20 years supervised release, and a lifetime as a registered sex offender. If you've made it to this part of the video, thank you so much for watching. This footage was difficult and infuriating to watch, but hey, we got through it, and hopefully we will never have to endure an interview as nonsensical as that again. If you liked this video and want to support our work, leaving a like or a comment down below is greatly appreciated. If you want to get videos early, we also have a Patreon. And as always, if there is a case you want to bring more attention to or topics you would like to discuss, email me at dreading.official@gmail.com. Have a great day and remember, stay safe.